Hey y'all, it's your girl Ashley Camille here at Fifth House Bloom. I offer intuitive guidance and divination strategy to help you bloom into the fullest form of yourself. You can check out my services in the links in the bio. I'm here to channel the Gemini message, the Gemini season message. If you are watching on YouTube, you can go on over to Substack if you would like additional support in the written form, maybe affirmations, maybe like a little bit of homework. I don't know yet. I haven't channeled the message. That's why we're here. But if you would like additional support to help you through the season, follow me on Substack. So I have some cards pulled out, and I'm going to start with more of the collective message right now because I tapped into this a couple weeks ago while I was on my retreat. Um, and I was trying to relax, but the message was coming through loud about the Saturn transiting into Aries. And it really felt like a collective message of, are you ready to stand 10 toes down? Are you operating in integrity? Do you do what you say you do? Okay. And it did feel like a collective energy that we will be put to the test, right? Are we operating within our value system? Do we do the things that we say we do in all instances, especially when it's difficult and when it's hard, right? And so if we are not operating within our systems of our values, of our beliefs, of what it is we say we want to build, for ourselves. And again, this was a collective message, right? And for the collective, it's going to become a challenge. Things will happen to force us to operate within integrity with our beliefs, or at the very least, it's going to call into question, is this what I believe? Is this the way that I want to move? If so, what is required? It's going to create a little bit of discomfort in the situations that are created to cause us to really question and question, what we say our values are, and are we operating within that? Okay. And so even if we are in a position of operating in that tension, potentially some conflicts, and again, this is individual and collective, will be will arise, and we will have to operate in that way. Okay. Uh, Give me a second. I want to show some of the um cards that came out. This one was really standing out to me because it's the energy of fighting, right? It's the energy of justice. It's the energy of, and then rage was underneath that. Sadness is underneath that. And I don't say this to cause any kind of alarm. It's for preparation, right? It is an opportunity for us to move into a greater alignment. And so, especially as a collective, what we say we want, what we say we need, what we say we value, we are going to have to fight for that. Okay. We're moving out of a time like it's go time. All right. So we had this is Eight of Water, Eight of Earth, Eight of Cups in the traditional tarot, Eight of Pentacles, and there's Saturn. Okay. So through disappointment, through upset, through potentially conflict, through our own disbelief of some of the things that are happening and occurring, it's going to call us to be like, okay, no more. What is my role? What do I do? How am I operating within this? Anything else? Ace of Pentacles, Queen of Pentacles. I'm sorry, Queen of Cups. Heart led. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. So our individual beliefs, our individual actions, what we say we want, what we say we value, how we say we feel about things, opening up and coming into here again, it's being brought to light so that we can really we can't slide by anymore, right? We can't just skate by. We are going to be put to the test. All I say that I believe in, all I say that I care about, all I say that are my values, all I say that are my beliefs, am I operating with integrity in that, right? And the way that I define integrity is your beliefs and your actions line up. And sometimes we don't always get it wrong. So even the integrity is like, okay, when there is a misalignment, I adjust my behaviors, I adjust my beliefs in order for it to be in coherence, right? So this is not lying to myself. This is like taking accountability. This is giving yourself the ability to grow. And we can't turn a blind eye anymore. Things are being ripped open. Things are being exposed in a way that it will need to be addressed. Are we good now? Can I move forward? Thank you. I wasn't going to be able to get into the more, personal guidance until that came through. Oh, one more thing. And so within that, within the collective and what is happening for us, this is going to, thank you, with the Saturn and Aries, call us to identify our roles. And I need to be clear, especially because one of the things that's going to be difficult as we move into Aries energy, which is very individualistic, right? Which is very much like me, which is very much like I'm the leader and go. We have to take that and identify our roles. And that might not necessarily be at the head of something, that might not necessarily be in charge of a large group of people, but you will be in charge of your task. You will be in charge of your role. You will be charged with whatever assignment it is that you have. So thinking about within your home, within whatever organizations you might be associated with, within the collective, what are your roles and how are you operating within that? That is something that will continue to be revealed and where you will be called and pushed into refinement. Yes. Okay. Now let's get into it. At this time, I welcome forth the power and the presence of the elevated guides who can assist me in delivering this message for Fifth House Bloom Collective for the Gemini season. I ask that you open up our ears so that we hear the truth of liberation. I ask that you open up our minds so that we may bloom. I ask that you open up our hearts so that we may embrace our divinity. I ask for assistance in delivering this message with clarity, empathy, and ease. I give thanks. This is Gemini season, and even the astrology is very Mercury focused, very much in our thoughts, very much in our ideas, very much in the exchange of information and communication. The thing that we don't often focus on when it comes to communication is listening. And so as the prayer, as I was doing the prayer, sorry, as I was doing the prayer, I got a ping to say, listen, right? This month, as you know, especially as we're moving into this energy, more of this fire energies with the Saturn and Aries, making sure that we continue to listen, or that we start to listen and we actually hear what is going on, not waiting to respond or listening to respond, actually listening, all right? Because that's going to give you some more information as you are navigating how it is you want to move, right? That's going to give you more information on, is this the space for me? Is this the person for me? Is this the way that I want to be operating? Is this something that I want to be associated with, right? Listening to the body. I'm going to encourage everyone to already start to think about what kind of practices that you have or that you need that will ground you in your body. This is going to be a time of in our heads, in our thoughts, and then towards the end of the month, in our head and in our feelings. Okay. So grounding into the body and having things that will keep you here, keep you solid. All right. So our themes this month, we have courage, inner child, tenderness, hmm, truth under there, dependency over there. Give me a second, I'm gonna take my time. Immediately, quite obviously, it feels like, dealing with some wounding of the past and some sort of hurt. I don't know if you watched the Taurus season, but that was more of it's not the same kind of like disappointment. It's not the same kind of loss. And it feels like something deeper, right? This feels like a thank you. More of something that is foundational and formational to us. So that might have been as a child, right? So this is something like the impact of the relationship with your parents, the impact of maybe rejection, the impact of having like your creativity stifled, the impact of negative self-talk, right? And I don't mean to harp on, the things that are challenging, that are negative, but this month, this Gemini season, it feels like it is coming to light, right? That something might be activating at that and kind of like poking, right? And we are going to have to operate the call and the task and the challenge is being present in that, right? It's not going to our old types of what is it? Protection mechanisms. Okay. The ones that keep us from facing things, the ones that keep us guarded, the ones that kind of keep us numb. The challenge and what we need to do in order to start to, you see, there's like little flowers coming on there to be able to shift out of this or to transmute it, I should say, is to have the courage to face it head on, is to allow it as much as it feels safe and as much as possible to really start to give yourself a chance to form new ways of dealing with or living with some of these deep-seated wounds and patterns that have been developed over time, right? And so as you see, like in this card, the person is moving towards the light. I'm the thing that's coming through and I'm noticing in the imagery is like the walls, is the boundaries, is the thing that's like trying to keep it within this piece that we're comfortable in, right? And so this is taking the next step. Tenderness, I'm going to read that. But already this is taking the nurturing approach. Okay. So if this is, let's say, connected to a wound from childhood, right? And it's connected to like relationship with the parents. It is what did I need then? And I'm starting to give it to myself now. You can, depending on how you how you work with the inner child. You can do this quite literally, right? You can do this with your care practices. Um, this can be just the way that you reflect. This can be what you bring up with your care team, whether that be a therapist, a spiritualist, a diviner, okay? But you are offering yourself softness. You are offering yourself tenderness. You are switching up what you are used to in order to really tend to this. I'm kind of read tenderness at the end, to tend to this wound in a new way. Um, with it being Gemini season and Mercury in our heads and in our thoughts, really pay attention to the way that you are speaking to yourself, the way that you are thinking about things. Challenge yourself to shift those thoughts. So if it is like, oh, I'm a failure, I never get anything right, da 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 da, you're gonna challenge yourself to tell the truth about it. It's like, I made a mistake and I am learning from it, right? It can be as simple as that. And we might not even be at a place where you can do that positive spin. That's a neutral state, right? That's neutral because we can do better than that when we're talking about positive, right? But neutral might be where you're at. Neutral might be all you have. When we're talking about deep-seated patterns of engaging with yourself and with the world around you and the environment, right? We have to do it in a way that feels comfortable, right? That won't jolt you too much. And sometimes that's neutral. We're moving from negative to neutral in our patterns, in our actions, in our relationships, in the way that we speak to ourselves, in the way that we have our thoughts, right? So neutral statements might be where you're at, and that's okay. And then there is no pressure, no shame, no judgment on yourself from moving from negative to neutral, and also understanding that it might be some slip back, right? So the task, I think I said all of that to say, for some, it might simply be an acknowledgement and catching the thought, right? Catching when you speak to yourself negatively, catching when you speak negatively over your situation and over yourself, right? To be like, ooh, okay, and starting to connect a pattern of like when this might be happening, what externally is going on in your environment, in your world, what internally is going on in your environment and in your world, your inner world, that is creating a situation for this thought to come up, for this feeling to come up, for this action to come up. And is there a pattern? Okay, don't get ahead of me now. Don't get ahead of me. Where are we pulling from? Okay, give me a second. Let's get some more support. No, read tenderness. This is from the Wisdom of the Shadow Oracle deck, one of my favorites. And I am hearing like be patient and the sun will rise. And I was getting kind of like a ping of like moving into Cancer season. There's going to be more lightness, there's going to be more joy. And as much as possible, as much as we can sit with this and sit in this work, we will give ourselves more capacity to receive it, to be in it. Y'all, I cannot wait. I can already tell, like this Jupiter and Cancer transit, I'm looking forward to it. And so there will be some gifts available for us, but we have to be in a position to receive, right? Okay, now we talking, because part of this goes back to worthiness. Part of this is what we think we deserve. Okay, and because if we can't if we can't hold what we are being gifted, like within ourselves, there's the potential to self-sabotage. There's the potential to just, not be able to utilize that gift to its fullest capacity, right? We might not be able to really like integrate it or to receive it. So we have to do this more challenging and difficult work to increase the flow within our receptiveness. Okay. Tenderness after the fire. I tend to myself. I offer myself tenderness. I allow a replenishment of all layers of my being. We aren't machines. We are humans. Regardless of what lies we create for ourselves, we are vulnerable to hurt. We are susceptible to burnout and many eternal burns that cannot be seen by the eye. We need space to recharge, realign, renourish, regenerate. We need spaces to offer tenderness and tending to ourselves. If we don't offer this to ourselves on a regular basis, we are likely to walk around feeling fragile. Tenderness and tending don't have to come. Okay. Sorry. The sun, like this also probably why the sun was coming up. And even here, it's like this, it's like lit on fire. And it's an agitation here, right? Here it's an agitation. And a lot of this is, again, feels like it's coming through in more of our thought process and how that thought influences our feelings, how we process or sit with feelings as a result of our thoughts, how we act based off it. And it all feels like, even here in the fire around it, it's all feeling like agitation. Okay. And so a lot of this, yes, I already mentioned at the beginning, tending to our body, and being grounded and present in our body. But a lot of this is going to do with our mental processes, our thinking. Okay. A lot of this is like where we creating burnout in our mind, in the way that we think about things, in the way that we are present with our thought and our thought processes. Should I? Okay, keep reading. Where'd I leave off at? I'm just going to start here. Tenderness and tending don't have to come when we are already burned out. We can create spaces for ourselves to mend, heal, and be so that we can avoid that outcome. If we're offering tender healing to a physical burn, we might call in some regenerative herbs. Be very gentle and create space where the repair could take place. We could offer this tenderness and healing to our inner burns and invisible hurts. So I think that I've already kind of started to talk about some of this, right? And so when we're thinking about shifting and intending to our mental environment, I want to encourage you to think about, how the physical environment influence that, how what is manifest, how we engage in this world does create that. A more general example, if we're talking about like tending to mental processes, is how does certain information, like when you are reading the news or watching the news, impact you? And I'm definitely not saying disengage, but I'm saying like, okay, we have to start creating like physical systems for us to be able to engage in the world in a certain kind of way. So there might be something like, I'm getting off my phone at this time, or I only engage, or I'm reading the news at this point in time. I'm looking at these outlets or things like that, right? I know that was very general, but let's say that this is in relationship with a person, and we're talking about some of these inner wounds, and you are in a relationship where you might not be able to just like disengage with the person, right? But it's kind of triggering those things, or it's keeping you in that loop, those shame cycles, that negative self-talk and things, right? We are thinking about what are some boundaries that I can create within this situation, or what are some aftercare things if that's more difficult to do right now, right? If I have to, let's say it's a boss or something, if I have to have this interaction with this person and I can't necessarily control the way that it is completely, right? Because you can't control people. What is my care to myself afterwards? What do I need to get back into my body? What do I need to calm and tend to my mind? Okay, think about ways that you push yourself beyond what feels good. Think about ways that you offer yourself tenderness or hold back tenderness. Yes, yes, thank you. We'll come back to that. Notice what tenderness is being called for in this moment, be it mental, emotional, physical, energetic, and some other layer of your being. I said I'm gonna come back to that and forget. Okay, hold back tenderness. Ooh, and especially as we are talking about inner child and this tenderness. And again, for some, this might be directly connected to inner child work. But in general, it is just feeling like wounding that we have grown with, right? So whatever it is that is kind of like keeping us stuck, that we can be working through past experience, right? Or past beliefs and starting to challenge it. Anywho, the thing that's coming up is punishment, right? Especially thinking about that relationship to inner child, right? Or childhood in general. And the idea that if you do something wrong, if you do something bad, if you're not up to standard, that you're supposed to be punished, right? And so here's another place for us to challenge. Where might we be punishing ourselves, right? And what tenderness you can offer in place of that. I am not talking about not taking accountability. I am talking about offering ourselves tenderness when we don't show up the way that we had expected ourselves to. Okay. Because the idea of punishment is connected to that worthiness piece, right? So if you're saying like, that's taking it a step back, that's even past receiving. Not only do I not deserve to receive, I'm bad and I need to be punished for this. No, 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 no. Okay. So instead, again, you might just be going to neutral. You might just be identifying, where am I punishing myself, right? Where I didn't meet a certain standard that I set for myself or a certain expectation that I had. And so you might be needing to, the first step might just be questioning, does this expectation still hold, right? Why do I have this expectation of myself? Is this an expectation that feels aligned with who I am now? Is this expectation of myself restrictive, or does it allow me to expand, and does it allow me to grow? And what is the method that I have for dealing with myself when I don't meet those expectations? And can we shift it away from punishment? Am I pulling cards? Am I pulling cards? We just talking. Oh, y'all, courage. Okay, looks like it's just reiterating the message, but give me a second. Let me show you the cards. We have the Seven of Wands, and at the bottom, courage. Mars is currently in Leo. I'll see if there's anything to that. Five of Cups. Ooh, the Five of Swords. Yes, it's time to shift. Survival, loss, survival. Ooh, yeah, this is a reiteration of the message, right? Um, and thank you. This language is helpful about survival, because that's not one of the ways that we think about, the impact of our wounds or how we got them. Like, what did we have to do in order to survive? That could be quite literal, right? Like in regards to safety. But I'm expanding this, especially with this cups and this fires here, right? Like our emotional survival, our spiritual survival. What actions, what ways, which ways do we have to restrict ourselves in order to protect, okay? In order to survive. And so the guidance that I'm offering here is for us to start to shift out of that and into a more courageous way of living in our more authentic self. Okay. Yeah. Give me a second. I'm gonna take my time. Additional actions we can take. Nine of Cups, Jupiter, Pisces, Fabulous. Whoa, Death. You. And the Four of Wands. Let me show you this, and then on the other end of that, while some of us have cope with these wounds with punishment, this is reminding me of the other end of the spectrum. The overindulgence, the distracting, the disconnecting from the truth of the reality, whether that be disassociating in the body, the lack of acknowledging, um, the pain that might be associated with it, right? Or ignoring even, right? If, especially like within relationships, I am ignoring what this brings up. I am justifying what this brings up, right? And so there's just a note coming through about make sure that we're watching on that other end as well. The challenge here is being present in the truth, right? Facing this head on, being in our body, being with our mind, being in the spirit, so that we can really start to tend to this wound. So we can be ready for Jupiter and Cancer. So we can be ready for Cancer season. Let me stop. I need to quit playing. Anything else? We're doing the work, y'all. Because even, from the Taurus season message of dealing with something like in the waking life, like an immediate disappointment, to now being tasked to go further back, right? And to really start to look at our patterns, our habits, our thoughts, our feelings that might be disconnecting us from our ability to be in the sun, right? To play in the sun, to grow, to receive, right? We're doing the work. Okay. Courage. I move forward, even with uncertainty, fear, and questions. I follow my heart and speak my truth. I'm holding up the truth card because this is the work. The courage is for this, right? I'm reading courage, but I'm holding up this truth card because that's what they told me to do. And it feels resonant, right? The journey we take, the work we do as being present in this will lead us to the truth that will open up this heart for us, that will heal these wounds and create the potential for a new way of engaging with our reality. Okay. Courage is not courageous without the presence of fear. Otherwise, then it would just be called action. Here's the tricky thing about fear. It creates really grand and believable stories, even when they are false. We must be willing to notice when our fears are actually trying to keep us alive from a life-threatening possibility, and when our fears are telling us stories that feel scary to the body, but in actuality are insignificant threats. And that's that thing about that fear too. I'm sorry, with the thoughts. So much of this is, what's happening in our minds, is our beliefs, is our thoughts. Okay. Vulnerability, authenticity, standing in our power, going against the grain, speaking our truth, saying no, saying yes, rising in leadership, owning our gifts in the world. That came through in the collective at the beginning. It all requires a big, courageous yes to ourselves and to the knowing that what we value is bigger than the fear. Okay, way to tie the collective message to us individually. For those fear threats where we know that we are not in harm or danger, it is courage time, especially when the fear involves how we will be perceived by others. Okay. And so I just want to state this and make it kind of plain, especially as I'm looking at this courage card here with those behind them, right? Like we are, if this is a thing of safety and you are unsafe, and the response is appropriate. But we are really being tasked with where is this fear coming from? Is this from an old wound? Is this keeping me safe now, or is this keeping me stuck? And so a lot of it is going to be identifying that, right? Not just immediately responding with our old ways, not immediately responding with our old thoughts, not immediately responding with old actions, not going to what is comfortable and keeps us in that fear or keeps us from facing the fear, right? Does this fear serve me? Okay. I'm going to read it again just because I don't know where I left off. For those fear threats where we know that we are not in harm or danger, it is courage time, especially when the fear involves how we will be perceived by others. One way to squash the fear voice and to amp up the courageous forward movement or decision making is to get to know the fear itself and to ask ourselves, if everything went well, would I be a yes to blank? I think it should say, would I say yes to? If the answer is yes, it is time to put on the courage pants. Notice what fear shows up when you are making decisions that feel like a call to courage. Ask the fear itself what it is afraid of. Cultivate courage by saying yes to more small yet bold actions. And here is emphasizing that small, right? Scaling up. We got to get used to it. All right. And so as we are moving, again, we're back to that Saturn Aries and how it is more of a call for us as individuals, because Aries is the warrior, Aries is the fighter, right? Okay. And so Saturn coming in ain't more like, all right, what's the plan? Are we being responsible? Did we build enough of a foundation for that? So we are facing these foundations, we are facing these structures, right, head on in order to free up more of ourselves, okay, and moving into our boldness. Anything else? No, this deck just wants to be used. I hope that was clear. Let me know. Ooh. Saturn in Aries for the individual, how to be our own warrior. Protection. We have the Two of Swords and the Sun, yes, and Temperance. Give me a second. I love where this is leading us. right? I love where if we sit in this work, if we give ourselves the space, if we tend to our wounds, if we tend to our thoughts and start to create more environments for us to face our fears, the results of when we learn to fight for ourselves, right? And I want to be clear, like fight for our authenticity, fight for our happiness, fight for our freedom, right? Are you willing? Are you able? Are you ready to say, stand 10 toes on the life you are creating for yourself, on your freedom? Anything else? Okay, that's the message. Let me know if you have any questions or if this resonates for you. This felt a little different than usual because a lot of this was here in the way in our relationship with ourselves, right? But this is part of that journey. This is part of that work. And so I hope that this message resonated with you. Take what did and leave the rest. I return this energy to you. Thank you.